Welcome to the first ever live show from McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street. Welcome to Starr and D'Amico on game day. The Montreal Canadiens are embarking on their Canadian Western road trip starting tonight at 8:30. It's a 8:30 puck drop, and guess what, my friends? Guess what, everybody? We've got lots to do. We've got lots to talk about, including updates on Laine, Kirby Dach's role tonight. But of course, I guess, Marco, good to see you, brother. Let's go. Let's go as the chat is live and active. Looking forward to hearing from a lot of you here. We have a lot of our supporters, Marco, in person. Isn't it great to be out amongst the people, my man?
Tell me about it. I mean, this place is popping. It's a full house here at McLean's on Peel Street. It's just an absolute vibe. It's a pleasure to be able to do this, and a place that I used to come to all the time as a university student. I was here on Thursday. Bad decisions were made, but it's great to be able to do this and to hang out with Canadiens fans as we prep, for tonight's game against the Calgary Flames.
And so I guess issue at hand is the starting goaltending. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. If I was surprised on Monday that Jakub Dobeš got the start ahead of Sam Montembeault, I don't know how I should be feeling today in the aftermath of Martin St. Louis before they embarked on their charter, Marco. They did not commit to a starter. Said, we'll wait to see you. He doesn't know, hasn't figured it out yet. Well, they figured out the puzzle. And the answer to the puzzle, at least tonight in Calgary, is Jakub Dobeš. Your reaction to this decision and why Dobeš?
Because Shaun Starr said so. That's this. No, but the way that I see it is thus, like, there's two ways of going about it. Number one, you want to give the hard game to your backup goaltender. See you soon, Brendan. You want to give the hard game to your backup goaltender. You want to give your number one. Sorry, I'm speaking backwards. Too much of this. You want to give your goaltender that is number one the harder game. That is the Edmonton Oilers, with no disrespect to the Calgary Flames. You want to give Dobeš another game because he's earned it. And I think it's a win-win in this situation. I get the mindset. I would have personally given the easier game to the number one, but you also want your number one to earn it because he's being, he's making $3+ million a year. You want him to earn it a little bit. And at the same time, you want him to get out of the funk himself. You don't want to do your goaltender any favors, because when the time's going to come for him to have to step up for real, you don't want to you want to make sure that those aren't paper wins. You want to make sure that those are earned wins and that you can create momentum.
100%. And I guess when we talk about where the Canadiens are at and looking at, I know we're dealing, I see it in the comments a little bit, just trying to, we did a little bit of a sound check before we got going, but it's a work in progress. Things will get better, I promise, on my end, as Marco's mic is pristine, and I will be jumping on that as well.
Look at it, everybody. A mic that doesn't sound like trash.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, I'm not surprised when it comes to the Jakub Dobeš situation at all. I used the word opportunity this week to talk about the lack of success out of the gate for a couple of teams we thought were going to be really good, and the Montreal Canadiens, who have taken 5 of their first 7 games. I mean, I want to get into why Jakub Dobeš started, and I think I know the answer. In that, obviously, beyond the numbers, right? He's the hotter goaltender, but I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about where Sam Montembeault is at.
I'm not. I mean, we've seen Sam have some, off games here and there. We've seen Sam kind of, string along 3 or 4, let's just say, non-optimal games, and he's always come back and he's strung along 6 or 7 really elite performances back to back. So I'm not really that worried. I think, thank you, Alex. I'm not really that worried when it comes to Montembeault. I think he's a competitor. I think he's got a lot on the line right now. There's an Olympic participation that you're dealing with in this situation as well. I'm not too worried. And for the first time in a long time, I actually feel like he has the defense in front of him to properly assist him.
Well, so Sam Montembeault is obviously going to get the Thursday game in Edmonton, right? And
6-7,
and it has to. I'm surprised you're young enough to get that reference. You're old when people are writing stories about what the 6-7 reference means, and apparently means nothing other than 6-7 and how good it sounds, I guess, rolling off the tongue. But
is that my dad in the comment section? That was
Luciano,
my dad in the comment section.
Go Habs, go! Keep up the great work, fellas. Luciano, we appreciate the support. I still think with Montebo's performance in Edmonton, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously, we'll see how this game goes in Calgary tonight. But when we get past Edmonton, whoever plays better tonight, whoever plays better on Thursday, is going to get the Vancouver game. It seems to me things are starting to shape up like a coin flip type of assignment, which leads me to believe that have we reached the platoon territory of the Montreal Canadiens goaltending situation?
No, I think it's a luxury to be able to have a 1A, 1B scenario, right? Like, I agree with riding the hot hand here, giving the harder goaltender the run as well. Like, it makes more sense to me to be able to just see what Montembeault can do, put out all the stops against Edmonton, because really that's going to be the game that's going to be the most important. Edmonton, not exactly a strong start to the season. McDavid just scored his first goal of the season. This is a team that's going to be looking for it. Where you look at the Calgary Flames, not necessarily the kind of team that is going to be competitive, especially if Dustin Wolf isn't, standing on his head. So to me, I get it, and I agree. I think the Vancouver game is fine, but then you right off the bat after that, you have the Seattle game. So to me, it makes total sense that they each get one start in this back-to-back, and then they each get a start after that on Saturday and Tuesday. I think it doesn't make much of a difference to me. And if you could afford to run your goaltenders that way, then, oh man, if someone asks me about Crosby, I'm going to break this glass right now. I'm out. I'm not doing this. Guys, the Penguins have the same amount of points as the Canadiens. That's bad news for Crosby fans.
Bro, Crosby's on fire, man. Crosby is on fire. The Penguins are playing well. Like, I'm not at the point where I'm concerned about the Pittsburgh Penguins shocking the world like the Montreal Canadiens did and make the playoffs, but kudos to these pros, man, like these veterans who have stepped up and, probably read the press clippings, saw what the experts were saying about them, and, they're too old, they're not good, bad team, and yet here we are talking about how hot of a start they are. But let's dive into what we think is going to happen now. Patrick Laine is seeing the second doctor for a medical opinion. Have the Canadiens, I haven't seen anything, but have they specified? I mean, you would think logically it's the knee again, right?
Yeah, look, I don't want to speculate, but this is the exact same thing that happened last year with his knee, where he went to get a second opinion. Thank you, Val. Went to get a second opinion, came back, decided he was going to rehab the knee instead of surgery. Because at the time, he was said to have been lined up for the same kind of surgery as David Reinbacher. He came back in December. David Reinbacher came back in March. The reality is we don't know what the injury is this time precisely. We know it's lower body. But if it is the knee, I completely understand going to get a second opinion. Except this time, and again, like this is the difficult part. He didn't get hurt during a game, but something's affecting his mobility to the point where everyone's calling him lazy. Yeah. So at that point, you know what's up, right? If there's something affecting your mobility, you got to get that checked if you're going to have a career in hockey. But the reason I think he may try to play through it at all costs is because this is a contract year.
Well, that's it, right? We talk about like where Laine is at, and I don't want to be harsh, but I just don't know what his role is on this team. I mean, it's clear. I mean, we all talk about how he's struggling at 5-on-5 and everything else, but beyond that, if he's not on the power play, Marco, and he's in a contract year, I mean, I'm not so sure I can associate a future with Patrick Laine and the Montreal Canadiens facing their current rebuilding contract, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that you're going to have to, first of all, you're going to have to lift the mic. You're definitely going to have to try and find a way in which Patrick Laine is going to be useful. But if Patrick Laine is going to be useful, he's definitely going to need his strength in his lower body to execute that one-timer. To me, honestly, like the way that you see him playing right now, you absolutely need him to produce. You absolutely need him to be mobile. You absolutely need him to be at least an average skater in the NHL to be able to execute the plays that he wants to execute. And if he's not, then at that point, he's hurting your club. So I definitely understand him wanting to go and get a second opinion. And I definitely understand you wanting to hold your mic.
Yeah, I read all the comments. Listen, everybody, there's not much I could do about this right now. It's getting fixed. A mic was supposed to be delivered to me today. It didn't happen. So here we are. I apologize for this. I've been a radio guy for 20 plus years. If it annoys you, I promise you, you have no idea how annoyed I am. So I see your comments. I get it, and it will be fixed. So hopefully it's good enough that we can plow through this. But it is what it is, as the cool kids like to say. It's unfortunate with the Patrick Laine situation. The good news, I suppose, is Kirby Dach, right?
Yep.
I mean, I thought maybe originally Kirby Dach was going to be more of a load management NBA style situation when he missed 2 games with an LBI, but he made the trip. And a lot of people in the comments, a lot of people in the comments keep talking about what they want to see. And I think Marco was like maybe the first to beat this drum, right? Was seeing Goaltending, Dach, and Demidov. How close are we to something like that in your opinion?
Well, I think right now you're seeing tonight we're going to see a line of Balzuc, Valeno, and Joshua Roy.
Yeah.
I think eventually Dach will draw back into the lineup, take the place of Valeno, and then at that point, well, then you're going to have to make a decision on what to do with Ivan Demidov. Is he going to stay with Kapanen and Newhook, or are you going to try to break that up for a little bit more jump? I don't necessarily. I think that Demidov line would have to go cold for them to want to break it up at this point. And I don't know that line is ever going to go cold with Ivan Demidov playing on it. But I think ultimately you're going to have the need for a player like Demidov to play with someone who's a little bit more, involved, a little bit more intense when it comes to that. But no, sorry, you were going to say?
No, just talking about Demidov's role and everything. I'm curious about his ice time. How his ice time was managed during the homestand where the Canadiens were 3-1, and now they're on a 4-game road trip. It's a little harder to manage the assignments and everything else, but let's talk about the Calgary Flames for a second. It's too early to talk about trap games, but if there's a trap game on the schedule, tonight's it, right? For a team that is not very good, lack of results. We want McKenna signs already, early blushes of Calgary season. How dangerous are the Flames today?
They're very dangerous because at any point in time, Dustin Wolf can stand on his head like he did all of last season. He hasn't had a really good start to the season. It is Kapanen. He hasn't had a very good start to the season. I see the comments coming in. But to me, that's a danger thing right there. Why do Flame fans want McKenna? Because their best offensive piece is Zane Parrott, who plays on defense. Right? That's not a good idea. That's like the Montreal Canadiens when they were looking for a number 1 center, and their best offensive weapons were PK Subban and Andrei Markov on defense, right? Like Andrei Markov almost led his team in scoring once if it wasn't for the last game of the season. So it's exactly in that vein that you have to keep things into consideration. To me, it's difficult. They need more offensive pieces. That's why they had Matvei Green start the season. That's why Samuel Honzik is on that roster as well right now. They just don't have enough offense. Ultimately, I feel like Montreal's depth and Montreal's superior depth on defense as well is, thank you, Jonathan, is going to be, the difference maker here. The only way the Canadiens, you best believe there are fans here. I'm not going to tilt it because it will destroy the setup if I tilt my laptop. But there are
There's tons of fans. It's amazing that we see so many people that watch the channel. We've got I don't know 2, 3, maybe 4 tables of subscribers, of fans of the channel that have come up and said hello, and it's awesome to be able to meet and greet so many people. Thanks to Nick, our proud sponsor at Cheapest T-Shirts, who showed up with a box full of swag. We got hoodies and T-shirts and hats to give away, and we've already given away a bunch of swag to some people that took time out of their night to come to McLean's at 1210 Peel Street. There's still time for you to show up. We've got more prizes to give away as well. So, Marco, it's been an awesome experience for our first live show to be here and meet so many people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first live show that we do, and it's the best I've sounded all year. I feel great. At this point, this is it's early in the season to say this, but it's a pretty substantial road trip for the Canadiens, because if they do come out on the other end of this with a 500 or more record, then you're looking at a legitimate team for one of the 3 spots in the Atlantic. And I think that's a huge, huge win for them compared to where they were last year this time, right? You got to remember back, when it came to the way that they performed right out of the gate last year, by mid-November, they were in last place. Well, right now, they're sitting pretty, chasing, playing hopscotch between them and the Detroit Red Wings for first in the division. And you really got to give it to them. They haven't been pretty games. Some of those games that they deserve to win, maybe not, but late game heroics. What I think we're going to see, and I think what makes the most amount of sense for this team right now, is that they're going to play, hard road games where they're going to be more focused on playing the defensive side of the puck. And I think ultimately at that point, that's when you're going to see how mature this team is and how much they've evolved since last year.
This is not happening for me. Listen, I'm not Marco's boss, but it's not happening for me. I got to get up at 3:45 tomorrow. Marco plowed down some chicken fingers with what sauce did you go with today?
911.
Somebody call 911. But I see the delicious pizza. The beer on tap is cold and fresh. I see a couple of pizzas from a couple of our listeners and viewers. Excuse me. I've been in radio for so long, I still call everybody a listener. But I see some pizzas being devoured, some chicken tendies being devoured. So I love to see a lot of the supporters coming here. It's a fine establishment, home or away. This is the place you want to be to watch the Montreal Canadiens in action. Joshua Walk up the call up the guys who we talked about this on the live show the other day. This is it, right? This is it for Joshua Watt as it relates to what the team thinks about him moving forward. He's going to have 4 games to show himself here.
Sorry, you're talking to me? I was too busy staring at the pizza. What did you say?
Yes.
No, I'm just messing. Yes, but Joshua, I think obviously at this point, you have to, I know this is a kid family thing, but like you have to shit or get off the pot, right? Like it's basically, this is where we're at. And at the same time, the Canadiens also have to see, oh guys, come on. I just ate, you're making me hungry again. When it comes to, thank you, Greg. When it comes to Joshua Watt, you absolutely need to get moving. You absolutely need to get to a point where he's either showing he can be a top 9 NHLer, or the Canadiens have to utilize him before he has no value, right? And I think that's where we're at right now. It's the final shot. The Canadiens want an offensive boost on their third line. Owen Beck did fine in a 2-way setting for that line. But in terms of being able to produce offense and support an offensively minded third line, I think this is the kind of role that he was made for. And it's up to him to be able to seize the opportunity and play up to that standard.
Yes, Ethan, we see your comments in the chat. Thanks for being such a loyal viewer on the channel. We love seeing so many regulars pop up, so many new user handles too, which is always fantastic. And we're going to be here to watch the game. It's an 8:30 puck drop against the Calgary Flames tonight. Habs are right back at it tomorrow in Edmonton. How about a fantasy question here from our boy Tristan? Is it time to start Dobesh in fantasy? To that I say yes. I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to win their first road game to get things going here. You got a fantasy take on Dobesh?
Yeah, would I start him tonight? It depends on who else is there. I usually do this with my friends in the group chat every night, but I would say that Dobesh would be I'm going to jinx it right now by saying this, but I think Dobesh is the goalie to start tonight. I think, he's being given an opportunity, and every time this guy's been given an opportunity, he's kind of run with it at every level, be it, with the Buckeyes at Ohio State in the NCAA, be it with the Laval Rocket. He's always been a guy that you give him the opportunity, he runs with it. So I would definitely try to start with him. Definitely hope that the team plays strong in front of him, though, because that's the trap right there, is when you rely too much on your goaltender. And we saw it against Buffalo, right? In the third period, he saved their bacon. Because if it wasn't for Dobesh making some of those highlight reel saves, Buffalo would have gotten back into that game and would have been in overtime pretty quick.
We saw on Monday night in the first period when it ended, Demidov and Hudson watching the iPad where everybody else was relaxing in the dressing room. Fans of a certain generation, and we have one of our subscribers is here, and he's got a Laine Hudson jersey on. He's an older gentleman. By that I mean he was around to watch the Montreal Canadiens in the 70s. And he came up to me when I saw him. I said, "Hey, you got a name on the back of that jersey?" And he took his jacket off, and it was 48 in Hudson. So fans of an older generation, fans of a current generation, brother, like a lot of us are in uncharted territory watching this tandem. And this isn't just like a local market take. This is getting acclaim from a national audience about Demitov's skill set. How unique do you think these two could be as the future builds around them?
I mean, I think the future is being built in Laval right now in Jacob Fowler, who I believe is starting tonight. I think the rest is just a stopgap, a fortuitous stopgap. But then again, this is why I always bring it up, you never know what the future will bring to you, because Carey Price was drafted 5th overall to be the next one for the Canadiens in 2005. Right. You had a certain Slovakian goaltender drafted in the later rounds of the 2003 draft in Juraj Slafkovsky that rose up, established himself at the same time, and eventually took over. So, it's always good to have – oh, man, thanks for joining us, Charles. It's always good to have that kind of presence. It's always good to have an insurance policy if you're a competitive team and the Montreal Canadiens want to be. So I think ultimately when you're a guy like Carey Price was and Juraj Slafkovsky was, it helped push each of them, and it helped save each of them in those scenarios as well. I think that this could be the case for D'Amico and Montembeault for now, and then potentially D'Amico could also be, the trampoline for eventually allowing a guy like Jacob Fowler to ease into the lineup as well down the line.
So it's Calgary tonight, Edmonton, Vancouver, and then it wraps up with Seattle. When we watch how this team has played, I mean, they've been rolling the dice, coming from behind, electrifying endings, great goals from Cole Caulfield in overtime, and starting the game strong. What's the missing ingredient here? Because I've spoken to you about this a few different times, right? Like in my own read on the Canadiens coming out of the gate, gangbusters, out skating, out hustling, constant pressure on the opposition. It's going to take some maturity, right, for them to manage the output and spread it over the course of 3 periods. Is that what you're seeing to explain the pushback from the opposition, like we saw against Buffalo, right? First period, all over them. Second period, Buffalo has a little bit of a punchback, right? Is this the sign to you of a team that still needs to learn how to manage how they attack a team and spread it out over 60 minutes?
I think one of the things with the Canadiens is they're more susceptible in the second period to getting hemmed in their own zone. And that's when they get hemmed in their own zone long term, right? They get hemmed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shifts in a row. And that's when they really kind of lose their momentum. And to me, I think that's kind of the problem when you have that kind of flow, is that the Canadiens are a team that consistently cycles and cycles and cycles. Well, if I had my whiteboard, I would show you that because of that long change, they rarely get off the ice. And that's one of the things, Jesus from Australia. Thank you for joining in. When you're getting stuck in the cycle, when you're always the team that's hustling, trying to run after the puck, you don't really gain that much momentum. You don't really gain that much puck flow. And at the end of the day, you're stuck chasing. And that's when another team can come in, because they're getting opportunities. They're getting access to the high danger area. The Canadiens can defend all they want, but tired legs, unfortunately, make for open passing lanes and open shooting opportunities. And that's where the Canadiens get stuck. So to me, it's about being more disciplined when it comes to the length of their shifts. Sometimes, the Canadiens, if you look at the shift lengths, in the second period, they're by far the longest. We're talking about average shifts that should be around 45, 60 seconds. Some of them are going a minute and a half, minute 45. And that's when mistakes happen. And I think that's the Canadiens have had that problem going back to last year. It's one of the reasons why they came back 10 times last year in 82 games to win in overtime. So to me, they got to shore that up. It's a sign of maturity from a team that is able to do that. And that's something they got to figure out. And that, to me, starts ultimately down the middle. And I think that speaks to the Canadiens' lack of depth in that regard.
So I want to get back into the game. When I asked Marco about, too early to talk about a trap game, but if there is one on this schedule, maybe it's tonight. Calgary, like any team, right? This is a proud group. This is a team that is not doing well. They don't have a lot of offense. Their special teams are poor. They give up a lot of goals. Whereas the Montreal Canadiens go into this game, right? Their power play is around 17%, 22nd or so in the National Hockey League. They score, on average, the fourth highest goals per game in the league at over 3.5. They have scored the second most goals of any team in the National Hockey League. So on the stats page, it's skewed heavily in favor of the Montreal Canadiens. And what I'm looking for, and to answer Samurai's question, I want to see the Montreal Canadiens come out and win this game 4-0, 4-1, 5-1. That's the type of performance I'm looking for tonight. Your thoughts on Montreal not just taking the approach of our talent's good enough to win this game. There are no easy games in the league tonight. What's the approach tonight?
I think it's a difficult thing to discuss without knowing how well Dustin Wolf is going to be. Because to me, Dustin Wolf was so good for the Calgary Flames last year that I think he deserved to be in the Hart discussion. That's how good he was. If they would have made the playoffs, that would have been good. Wow, 6:30 in Vietnam.
Vietnam, brother. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But ultimately, he is the backbone of that team. If Dustin Wolf is not performing, it's going to be very, very difficult right now for them to get going. Defensively, I just don't think that they're there either. They're just too young. I think ultimately at forward is where you're going to really kind of see things get a little even. They have some good pieces. They have elements that could help them out hustle the Canadiens, especially down the middle. Kadri, Backlund, Frost, Zari. I think that they have a lot of good options there. So in terms of trap game, it could be a trap game, but ultimately for me, the Canadiens have to stay disciplined in this regard, because if they don't, then this is a team that's going to run them up in the second period quite easily, especially without the last change.
So what about that, right? When it comes to the discipline, I think it was a tight game on Monday against Buffalo, right? Post for the photo, Marco. What it do, baby?
I hate my picture being taken.
Well, listen, we're doing a live show. Lots of people are staring at you. We're not at the comfort of home, right? We're out of our comfort zone today. What did you like from Monday's game that you now listen, expect them to take with them into Calgary tonight?
Number one, play a stronger second period. I think we just talked about it. Martin St. Louis was adamant about this. There's definitely going to be more attention to face-off wins, especially with the team that's so good at it in Calgary, right? They've got 3 face-off guys over 50%. And so I think that, the Canadiens struggle against teams that have a strong center line. You look at the Leafs, they had difficulty there. You look at the Rangers, they had difficulty against them. It's not by chance. It's teams with stronger center lines. So I think that's going to be definitely a thing where their centers are going to have to set up and step up. Apologies. You're definitely going to, for example, right? I know that Oliver Kapanen scored, but you're definitely going to need more from him in the neutral zone. I know that Jake Evans' line was fantastic from an energy perspective, but outside of an empty netter, we're going to need to see more offense from that line, bar none. They need to get going offensively for sure. And then in terms of the Joe Veleno line, I would just like to see a little bit more creativity. And the Canadiens, when they are successful, absolutely need to control the pace of the game and push the quick counterattack. That is how they will beat the Flames, is if they are counterattacking quickly, the same way we saw them doing it against the Detroit Red Wings in Detroit in that second game. They're quick, off the hop, breaking up plays, going back the other way, attacking the middle of the ice, and then ultimately crashing the net. And I think that's a recipe to beat a team like Calgary, because if you can outskill them and if you can outspeed them, the hustle won't be enough.
Are you seeing growth in the power play? Like I see our boy Ethan in the comments talking about how good this team could be if the power play starts going and finding another level. Arpon Basu does a great job at The Athletic covering this team, was talking about maybe why Demidov hasn't been moved around is because of the Nick Suzuki role, and they kind of like Nick Suzuki there. I'm just curious about the timeline as things progress and move forward here. Like we spent so much time in the preseason talking about the talent on both waves of the power play here. How much about that is the Nick Suzuki role in the power play?
Well, I think it's a difficult question to answer, because I don't think Nick Suzuki is necessarily playing in the most optimal place right now in the power play. Nick Suzuki's place on the power play is in the bumper, right? And when you're in the bumper, what does that mean? You get more puck touches. You are the one that roves with the power play, so that if you have one at the top, two on the sides, and then one on the bottom, well, you're basically playing total football with all these guys going around and around. Well, with Zachary Belzuk in the middle right now, it makes Nick Suzuki's job a little harder. Whereas on the second wave of the power play, he's playing off the boards on the left circle. He's got a little bit more room to move, and he's able to do much more with his time. So I think ultimately, I'm not a fan of the way that both waves are built right now. I think that Ivan Demidov absolutely needs to get on the first wave, and then they need to pull Zachary Belzuk down to the second. If they want to keep Nick Suzuki there while Patrick Laine is out, we'll see how long that is. I have no problem, but it cannot be a long-term solution because that is a recipe for disaster when it comes to Nick Suzuki. This is a guy that was gassed when he got to the playoffs last year. They managed to get there, and it was a big part of it was because he was getting double shifted on the power play. But man, you're playing with fire if you're doing that this early in the season.
I liked Juraj Slafkovsky's game on Monday. 3 hits. You saw him mix it up with Dahlin behind the net, mixing it up with Tage Thompson in the aftermath of that little melee. And I feel like sometimes we don't talk about big number 20 on the power play and how integral he is to that success, right? I mean, are they trying to mold? I get that impression sometimes with Martin St. Louis, how he's helped bring Cole Caulfield's game around, Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher. And I wonder if they're trying to do that, making Slafkovsky more versatile, and to see how he can do in other spots other than net front presence. All this under the, with the understanding we're talking about a team that's played 7 games, he's an integral piece to making this power play, whatever unit he's on, work and click, right? I mean, he's so big and still so young.
My issue is you have to use him to his strengths, right? If you look at Juraj Slafkovsky's goal chart, a good amount, I believe something north of 100, out of 100% of his goal total, I think it's 33%, come from right in the blue paint, and a grand total of about 67% come from the slot and blue paint area. So clearly he scores in the high danger areas, and that's because he's really good at deflecting pucks. He's really good at screening goalies. So even when he's not the one scoring, like we saw in Caden Gooley's goal against Chicago, he's playing an integral part in screening the goalie and making sure that shots can get through. So to me, that's where he belongs. That's what makes him good. And he doesn't necessarily just have to stay in front of the net. He can also roam in behind the net to continue and maintain possession and assist his wingers that are playing lower in the circles when they need to start cycling the puck. To me, it affords another option instead of always having to go back to the predictable route, which is sending the pass back to Laine Hudson and having him try to figure it out instead. Give Cole Hudson, wrong team. Give Laine Hudson a little bit of a bone. Give him some options, and I feel like having Juraj Slafkovsky in front of the goalie is a far better use of his time than playing him on the left circle, where I believe Ivan Demidov belongs.
The first person I saw put this out there was Corrine Haynes from the Hockey News when correct me if I'm wrong, whatever. Nick Suzuki's point total since the Four Nations. Nobody scored more, right? He's on pace for 117 points, but yet I feel like he's off to a quieter start, even though he's piling up points and finally got his first goal. But what are you thinking so far of how 14 has looked through 7 games?
That's because up until Buffalo, the 6 games prior, the Suzuki line, not only their number 1 offensive line, but that line was also being used as a shutdown line. So that's probably why you didn't notice Nick Suzuki as much. He was also very, very preoccupied with the defensive side of the puck. And so when you factor that in and you think, this is a guy that's also being matched up against the top opposition on the other end, the one game where he is removed from that responsibility was his best from an analytics perspective of the season. So I definitely agree with Frank on this one.
You do,
I do believe that Belzuk should be on the second wave, even though I understand he was very successful in that role in St. Louis. It's not the same makeup. It's not the same team. Laine Hudson doesn't have the shooting threat necessary to have the PKers play higher in the defensive zone. And so to me, based on that, I would put him with Dobson instead, because Dobson is the actual shooting threat on the back end. And he is going to command respect from the PKers, and that is going to give Belzuk more time to shoot that puck and probably be able to get it in quicker. So that's the way I see it.
You know, if you head to our YouTube channel, we did a video on secondary scoring and the need for secondary scoring. And, you know, when Marco joined us on the morning show with Connor McKenna and yours truly, he does every Wednesday at 8:05 for Habs Breakfast. We were talking about what the trade market may look like. And Marco and I covered that on a couple of different videos. You can check it out on our page on the video tab, right? But is the timeline in hurry-up mode, do you think, for some teams? Like, is there more hype around the draft as the season moves forward, you know, and teams are going to pull the chute maybe earlier than we thought, and how the Montreal Canadiens are going to be able to, and you brought up Vancouver as an example, and even I saw on TSN, the Insider Trading guys were talking about the belief that the Canucks are going to be hyper-aggressive for the same player that the Canadiens are going to be looking for. So an arms race, basically, is what maybe this fan base is going to be looking forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you have to consider when it comes to the centers is you have at least 6 teams that would jump at the first opportunity that a top 6 center became available, right? And so with that said, nobody really wants to trade one other than if they get absolutely blown away by an offer. But at the same time, those teams don't want futures. They don't want first-round picks. They don't want prospects because, you know, outside of maybe 2 teams, I'd say maybe 1 team, because it looks like someone in San Jose really wants to win. You have 30 teams that think that they're going to win. They're going to be able to win enough games to make the playoffs. That number is going to dwindle down significantly by the time we get to American Thanksgiving and into December. And I think that would be the earliest that you would begin to see players that the Canadiens could covet become available. When it comes to centers, it's a different discussion. You know, yes, there could be some available. We saw some get traded, you know, last year around that time. But ultimately, I think it's going to be in the new year, potentially after the Olympics, where you see some of the big name guys go in a normal year.
Yeah.
Not this year. And this year, scouts that I've spoken to are absolutely in love with the 2026 class. And it's not even just because of Gavin McKenna, Keaton Vierhoff, Belchetz, Stenberg. I could start naming players left and right. Xavier Villeneuve, you know, it's Hurlburt. Like, there's so many guys that are coming up in this draft that are considered to be elite or top of the line of players that, you know, you will see teams say to themselves, okay, it's worth taking a little bit of a reset right now, stockpiling a little bit of youth and coming back at it next year with a potential elite piece like some of the guys that I just named that are probably all going to be able to jump into the NHL right away. That changes the dynamic. That means that because there's cap space, there's no real benefit to waiting until the end of until the trade deadline, because there's a salary cap in the playoffs now. And if you're going to suck, you want to suck as soon as possible so that you can ultimately get the maximum that you need to ensure that you're at the highest point in the lottery.
We got one of our viewers who's listening, eating in front of us. You guys are absolutely the best. We're humbled. We're humbled by your support here.
That's a massive ass sub.
That's a great looking sandwich and a coffee. That's a nice match, though. Eh? How do you feel about the submarine sandwich and a coffee on the side? The coffee to wash it down.
I can't work in this environment, guys. Like, I'm going to be consistently goddamn hungry. This does not work.
Well, you're at the right place because the food here is off the charts. Pizza's being devoured. Chicken tenders. Good.
I had the chicken
food,
tenders.
Right? They have great coffee, you see?
And they have great coffee. Look at that.
And he drinks it black like a man. I respect that. I want to try to get John Still from Melnick in the afternoon. John Still, our colleague at TSN 690, cool enough to come down and show up. He's big time now, you know. He's calling soccer, calling CF Montreal, calling Canada soccer games. whisper on the street. You might see him between periods filling in for Kenzie Lalonde every now and again. I'd like to try and get John Still in, but do you think it's an achievable feat, brother? I understand my sound isn't as good as it will be. This is the last time it'll sound like this, but do you think we can pull off the John Still appearance on the channel while doing this live?
He is for sure going to hit a wire and knock everything down. I love you, John.
Yeah.
But like,
maybe next time.
Well, I mean, I can give him my chair for a bit if you want.
Yeah.
You want me to guys, should I give John my chair for a sec?
No, we're good. Yeah, we're.
Oh, he wants to
see
take
John's
a picture
here.
of us.
John, why don't you come and see if we can pull this off here?
See, I wanted to say something to Shaun, but it's a family channel, so I couldn't say what I wanted.
No, you can. We're at a bar. We're at a bar. It's 18 and over. You can say whatever the hell you want.
Oh, well. Hi, Shaun.
Let's see if we can get John Still in here from a Melnick in the afternoon. John, are you going to be able to hear us? There he is. There's Jonathan, the future voice of soccer in this country.
We'll see.
There he is.
We'll see what's going to happen.
There's the sound. You sound good, brother. Hey, thanks for coming down to McLean's today, my man.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm so happy. Congratulations to both of you on your success, and I'm very happy to be here.
It's all Marco, really. I'm just here. I'm the pretty face, you know? Or at least that's what I tell myself. Yeah, thank you so much.
You are certainly a prettier face than I. That is, yeah.
What are you thinking about this Habs team, man? Looking pretty good. I think we have a goalie controversy, Jakub Dobeš tonight.
You do?
I mean, I was a little concerned, like playing the lottery, winning these games last second, winning in overtime. I'm a big law of averages guy, but they're winning these games, and Jakub Dobeš's attitude and his aggressiveness, big reason why he's getting back-to-back starts. What's your read?
Well, people got mad at me in the summer when I said that I thought that Jakub Dobeš might have, to me personally, even a higher ceiling than Jacob Fowler. Because I just think that, first of all, he's got that mentality of being a goaltender where, number one, he's got a little bit of FU in his game. He's enormous. He is an incredibly athletic player. And it seems like we've seen through the first couple of games that he has figured out a way to be more economical in the way that he plays goal.
Yeah,
it's not really all over the place as it was last year. And so I'm a big fan. I love him picking fights with the Washington Capitals. There's something about him that just seems very much like an NHL goalie. And the fact that he's a 6'4" athletic freak is really the thing that stands out to me. Outside of his terrific commercial mattress posings.
Yeah,
a la George Costanza.
It's a meme
Costanza,
now.
which I'm always here for. Yeah, exactly.
It's a meme. I'm here for it. Let me pose this question to both of you here. You think the team is starting to take on an identity based on how Martin St. Louis built up his Hall of Fame career? Are you seeing like his fingerprints on that? John, go first, and then Marco could follow up.
Yeah, I think that they're combative. I think they're skilled. I think they play with speed. What's really
people like you, John. They like you, Johnny.
Well, that's why I do call some Canada soccer out there. It's truly
yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, but all this to say that, you know, I think that they've gone and they play like Martin St. Louis. They trust Martin St. Louis. You know, what was that play we saw from Demidov when he had the goal and the assist? And it's earlier in the day. Yeah. He's literally working on exactly that. He's working on exactly that with Ivan Demidov. Kevin Owens. I do love Kevin Owens.
Not bad, eh?
Not bad. Mirabel zone. Some people call me the third Kelsey brother. I prefer that one a little bit more.
That fits too. Why don't you join the podcast and make us that Kelsey podcast money? Eh? Marco, we can add his name. Marco, we can add his name to the banner if he pulls in the Kelsey money.
No, just put me in.
This wouldn't be the first time there was a still on a podcast with me.
Just put my name in very small print at the bottom of yours. Starr D'Amico and still.
Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, I think they're obviously on the right track. I said, you know, Shaun, I've heard you and Connor talk about this a lot on the morning show on TSN 690 about, you know, the fact that it seems to be in the right direction. But man, are they not just entertaining? And for a year,
no kidding. For
all of us, you know, I think we're all kind of a little bit disconnected and jaded from the Canadiens, but we all grew up as Montreal Canadiens fans. To see an exciting, offensive, talented Montreal Canadiens team, that's literally never happened in my lifetime. That has never happened. And so that's the thing, is that you're seeing the excitement level really kind of picking up with this team as we get a full-scale view of everyone at McLean's Pub.
Look at all the good food, guys, because I'm literally dying right now. But yes, I definitely agree.
Jump in on the MSL thing, and are they playing like him? Trying to, anyway.
I don't necessarily know that they're playing like him, but they're definitely playing for him. And when you play for a guy like MSL, then that he was a veteran on the team or that he's a coach, you want to go through a wall for a player like that. And I think that speaks to his character. It also spoke to the kind of player he was as well. So in that sense, yes, he's rubbing off on those players. But in other senses, I feel like he's helping players bring elements to their game that he didn't actually have as a player himself. Right? You look at Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki's become an elite two-way center. Martin St. Louis was a winger, albeit, yes, it definitely is a packed ass house.
Oh my God!
Tell you. So
John getting the compliments on the chat today. John's always been a cool dude.
You look cooler than I expected.
I got a
than I expected. Where's the bar though? Where's the bar?
I got a primo haircut when I was in Toronto. That's all this is. But
what's a haircut cost in Toronto?
Well, let's just say I went to some random dudes. Yep. I went to some random guy's apartment who cut my hair.
What? What? Right. Where do you find him on Craigslist, you freak?
I don't know. My best friend lives in Toronto. Where do you go? That's where he goes.
Man-searching man for a haircut on Craigslist? You can get murdered, brother.
It worked. But
did he just say Craigslist? Damn.
John, to the question you asked,
yeah.
I get what Marco says, where we just don't really know. But don't you find that all of their star players play like Martin St. Louis? I think that's the point.
Look at Caulfield to me is a primate. Nick Suzuki to me is a Shea Weber clone. Cole Caulfield is a Martin St. Louis, smaller stature but strong, elite level skill set, and then complementing with the superstardom of Laine Hudson and Demidov.
Elite.
I love it.
Elite.
I love it. We need to dive into that. What about follow up on John's point about the star players, Marco, and the fingerprints of Martin St. Louis and the coaching? I mean, not only does he wax poetic after games and before games, but I mean that infamous clip of him working on those little 180 twists and turns with Demidov. I mean there's the evidence, right?
Yep. That's exactly what I was looking at, is just he sees the game at an elite level, even as a coach. And I think one of the qualities that he had was always being able to improve his play and be able to improve the way that he was able to attack the play. So when you look at a guy like, for example, Demidov, and the way that they look at that he helps him along the boards, tries to teach him, because this isn't a guy that played on big ice. This is a guy that played on NHL ice last year in the KHL. He understands time and space, but it's being able to take advantage of space with the time that you have that is an NHL skill and not the other way around. So I appreciate that in the way that he's able to talk to Ivan Demidov. One of the guys I think he really gets it from and is able to do really a strong piece of work with is Laine Hudson. Laine Hudson is a very small player, but he's a player that's able to attack open ice, something that Martin St. Louis said he wanted to see out of his players right from the hop when he started with the Canadiens. Laine Hudson was hesitant a little bit at first to do that. He's become a wizard at it over the last year. And I think when you look at his growth in that department, it's the main reason why the Canadiens have 3 elite offensive opportunity defensemen on their back end. One of the only teams in the NHL that could boast something like that right now.
How come we don't have a Canadiens lineup yet? It's a 7:48.
Well, I mean, the lines didn't change. The lines didn't change except for Roy taking
a Laine spot, right?
You have Roy coming in for Laine, and he'll play except for Leno and Bolduc, and that's essentially it.
Okay, because I think we're all waiting for Dach, Bolduc, and Demidov to be a thing.
I'm waiting. I am patiently waiting. Okay, so in fairness, you have Demidov, Kapanen, and Newhook. I don't know if you guys agree. That was their best game they played together.
Yeah.
The last game against Buffalo. But with all due respect, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And man, if you see Demidov, if he gets a chance with a natural shooter, and it's definitely not going to be Patrick Laine, Bolduc's a crasher. He's a banger. He can go and he can rip the puck on goal. I would love to see those guys play together. And then, just being on the ice with those guys and picking up secondary points, what does that do for Kirby Dach's confidence? Again, if he can stay healthy.
I know.
Like, it just makes so much sense. Dach has been waiting all offseason. He spoke in the preseason. I was there during training camp about, I'm trying to get this chemistry going with Demi. Every one of these guys know, everyone who's on the bubble with the Canadiens, Laine, Dach, they're all trying to go and hook their boat to the Demidov of it all, because that's going to be the thing that keeps them here in Montreal and is going to get them paid and is going to get them long-term contracts, because whoever figures out how to have the best chemistry with that guy, it is going to be something that sticks for this organization for a long time.
I love getting paid. Marco loves getting paid. John loves getting paid. Marco, speaking of getting paid, let's tie it into the Daily Faceoff report about Mike Matheson, Patrick Laine, possible extensions in the works here. Your reaction to, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a hater, but I don't know about Patrick Laine's future with Montreal. How surprising would that be to you today, as we react to this here?
I don't think you can have a negotiation with Patrick Laine until you see what this injury is going to be. I think at this point in time, especially if it's the same knee, I don't know if you're the Montreal Canadiens, if that's a very responsible thing to do at this junction, is to have a negotiation with him about his future with the Canadiens. I think you need to see exactly what's going on. I think you need to see exactly what they're being diagnosed with. Mike Matheson, to me, however, is an absolute no-brainer, slam dunk.
Yeah.
The Canadiens are in need of Mike Matheson, and Mike Matheson is in need of the Montreal Canadiens. And I have a feeling, Mike Matheson is repped by Phil Lecavalier, brother of Vincent Lecavalier, and one of the managing partners at Cortex, if that sounds familiar, same agency as Lane Hudson. They do not want to have the same situation happen. And Mike Matheson has already said that he wants to stay in Montreal, said so, had an hour-long meeting with the Canadiens at the Combine in Buffalo about it. This is a guy that loves it here, that was here through the hard years, and I sincerely doubt that he wants to leave home the moment the good gets good. So to me, that is going to be used as a mechanism of negotiation leverage in that regard. They may have to give Mike Matheson term, but I think that Mike Matheson in turn will be giving them a little bit of a gift on the AAV side. My 2 cents.
John, would you be, if you had to think about Patrick Laine or Kirby Dach, who's got a future in this market? Both injury history, both in contract years. Kirby Dach's age and size, I think, has allowed him a lot of running room on this leash. I stand behind. If he was 3 inches shorter, I don't think he would have been drafted where he was drafted, and I don't think he would be given the opportunity. But two-pronged question: who's more likely to have a future, and what about their roles moving forward, especially on Kirby Dach's side?
Okay, well, first of all, for all the people saying that the Canadiens should have stuck with and picked Frank Nazar or 13th overall, could you imagine what this Canadiens top 6 would look like if Frank Nazar was on it? Good player.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Did you spend 10 to 15 years talking about how small the Canadiens are? I don't know. I remember all of that. I remember listening to it. I remember talking about it. I remember all of it. So, yeah. Laine, when we go to Canadiens games, when we're in the press box and you're talking to people, the thing that comes up the most, whether you're talking to contemporaries or people around, is just, are you going to win with him? Are you going to win in the playoffs with Patrick Laine? And I think it's very clear that you're likely not. He's going to find a way to San Jose or Chicago or wherever, or whoever the next San Jose or Chicago is. He's going to cash in for a few years, and that's going to be it. But for Dach, I've been saying forever is he going to be a second-line center, or is he going to be Filipino? And so to me, that's what the season is because we saw everyone around the league, Marco would know even better than anyone, is just how everyone was desperate for that second-line center. If Nazem Kadri goes on the market, how many teams, not just the Canadiens, are just going to be interested in that guy? You just need depth at the center position, even if Kirby Dach is injury-prone, and being able to keep him at an inexpensive number for a couple of years. I think that makes sense. And then you have to just move forward with the fact that he's likely a third-line center, and whatever you get from him offensively is great.
All right, final thoughts from you, John, and then Marco and I will wrap it up here. What are you thinking? What are you expecting tonight?
I think the Habs are going to put up some offense. I
Yeah.
don't really know why. Aaron Ward convinced me earlier on Melnick in the afternoon. I felt like I had no feel for this game whatsoever. And then, they played very loose, the Flames, which is very odd. Wolf has had a very difficult start to the season. I'm going 6-3. I'm going 6-3 for the Cabs, doubling up on the Flames. And we'll have plenty to cheer for here at McLean's Pub,
so.
except for that hat that Marco's wearing. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that
Especially
is.
we have our own branded hats, and he's wearing the competition's hat,
Unbelievable. Let's just switch this around. Let's just go full Flava Flav up here. There we go. Definitely be the 30-year-old cool guy with the backwards hat. That's what it is.
If Calgary scores 3 goals, that's an anomaly here. And first of all, John, thank you so much for supporting us and being here. And you can listen to John weekdays on Melnick in the afternoon. Catch him on TSN, and maybe you want to watch some TSN regional Habs coverage soon. You might see a little bit more.
And not only that, I will be an extra on the Kelsey show in the not too distant future.
Right. Listen, you're welcome here with that.
We're
Kelsey
bringing
money,
this
John.
to new heights, baby. New heights. Right,
thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. There he is, John Still, Melnick in the afternoon, weekdays 2 to 6. And nice to see his career level up with his knowledge and the way he presents soccer on TSN. Marco, final thoughts here as we wind down our first live show from McLean's Pub. Great to see so many faces, so many meeting faces behind the username, which I always find interesting. I'm like, hey, what's your name? Oh, I'm Daniel. I'm Habs Relic. I'm like, oh, I recognize the username. So let's wrap it up with what you think we're going to watch tonight at 8:30 in Calgary with Jakub Dobeš against Dustin Wolf, the Calder runner-up or Calder finalist to Laine Hudson last year, who's off to a terrible start for his Calgary Flames.
Famous last words, eh, Shaun? I don't know. To me, again, like he's so good with his instincts. He's so good at being able to find, the puck in traffic, being able to track, being able to, explode out of his net and really kind of challenge players. Got a really good glove hand as well. So to me, I feel like, it's the kind of game where if he really decides to wake up and play like he did last year, it could be a seriously tight game. It could be a 2-1 game, and that could be very boring at this late hour of the night.
Yeah.
Watching that in the third period when it's going to be 10:30, 11 o'clock. But I think this is going to be a hard-fought battle. I think this may be a trench war. My 2 cents. If we have 6 goals in this game with both teams, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I would be happy too to see a little bit of a show tonight. And speaking of a show, it's been a hell of a time. Time just flies by at McLean's. And yes,
well, we got to determine who won those Habs tickets. No,
correctamundo. And we had like over 600 entries. And I don't.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we were able to put all the names basically together. And I'm not going to lie, I had to actually copy and paste all the usernames from McLean's that wrote McLean's down. And I don't believe he's here. But Steve Melser 4273 on YouTube was the lucky pull. And so, Steve, we're going to reach out to you. And you're going to get to go to a game in McLean's seats. And McLean's is going to pick up the first round. And you're going to get to enjoy the game from a great section of the Bell Center. Marco D'Amico, what a treat it was to be here at McLean's, and I think we're going to do this again maybe in the month of November. How do you feel about that?
Well, aren't we doing it on November 21st?
Well, yeah, that was me, leading you into. I got to keep training this guy how to make it all happen.
I can't do surprises, guys. We're gonna be doing this next month. We will give you all the details. There will be more contests. No Habs tickets this time, but there will be more contests and gift cards to give away.
100%. And we've got gift cards here. If you're in house and you're listening to us, I see a few people here are listening to the show while eating some delicious food in a great ambiance at McLean's Pub. We've got gift cards to give away. We've got swag to give away. So even though the live stream is over, the party still goes on. Still a chance to come down and enjoy the ambiance at McLean's. Puck drop just after 8:30 tonight. Marco, thanks so much, man. It's been a lot of fun today.
Always a pleasure. I just came for the tendies.
So did I. We'll see you tomorrow on the show to recap what we're going to watch tonight. We'll be live tomorrow morning at 11:30. For Marco D'Amico, I'm Shaun Starr. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. It was great again to meet you. And we'll see you tomorrow live at 11:30.